Charbonnet breaks a tackle, gets to
RPO inside zone here again for Michigan. Let's look at the action first. So you got Tariq Black here on this slant. That is the pass option. Inside zone is the run option to Charbonnet. Michigan keeps in 6 to block with McCune here at the bottom of the line. The 6 players in the box that Michigan is blocking against, these 2 linebackers and these 4 down linemen. This is a cornerback who's on Ronnie Bell here. So that leaves this as the conflict player. If he comes up and run support, this slant will be open. If he kind of plants here, the run should be open. Another factor to consider is this overhang safety. He is not accounted for. That'll be important later on. So let's see. Conflict player stays kind of on the zone that Tariq Black is running into. That's who Patterson, you can see, is reading right now. This guy is clearly in this path of Tariq Black, so it is the correct read to give to Charbonnet here. Let's take a look at kind of the blocking for Charbonnet on this play. So it's actually really well blocked. You have a really nice kick out block from Mayfield here on the right side. Good double between Ruiz and Onwenu. They'll eventually pick up the middle linebacker. Backside's fine. Everything is blocked really well here. It's just an issue with this overhang safety. The numbers aren't there. If you add him to the equation, that's 1 in favor of Army's defense. So despite everyone being blocked, this defensive tackle does kind of get Charbonnet off balance, but this safety is completely unblocked. He makes a nice play here in the open field, so keeps it to a short gain. So correct read, safety just kind of unaccounted for.
At the 27 for the Wolverines, and they'll run it on first down. Zach Charbonnet with running room.
Run pass option here early in the first. Let's take a look at Michigan's options from both the pass and the run. So the run would be inside zone here for Charbonnet. The pass option would be the slant for Eubanks. Let's count numbers here. On the offensive line, Michigan has 5 here to block, no one else. So let's count defenders in the box for Army. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is the 5th guy, this linebacker coming up. So these are the 5 that are accounted for by the 5 blockers for Michigan. That leaves this outside linebacker type dude as the conflict player. So if he sits or stays on this route, it's going to be a give, since that does not occupy this space for the inside run. If he comes up in run support, that leaves this slant open for Eubanks. So let's take a look at this guy and his action and how he dictates this play. So you notice he goes out towards Eubanks' route, right? He's sitting back. He is not coming up in run support. That's leaving this wide open lane here. Wide open lane here because of this motion out on the route. So that leaves that lane. That's the whole point of the run pass option here. So it's the correct read. Other things in blocking that help this play be successful. You got a good job by Hayes here on the left side. You got a double on this defensive tackle. This linebacker is shooting up this gap that really leaves this open 11-yard gain for Charbonnet. Does a good job hitting the hole quickly. Nice easy pickup. RPO as it's meant to be done. And a good hard run by Charbonnet to pick up 11 yards.
Patterson hands it off to Turner this time. He breaks the tackle, gets
RPO inside zone here, same as the last play. Let's look at Michigan's options here. The inside zone to Turner is one option. They got Tariq Black on a slant on the outside. For blocking, they keep 6 in with McCune at the bottom of your screen here. Army actually has them outnumbered in the box with 7. You're going to have an outside scrape here that kind of brings it back to 6, but we'll cover that in a bit. Conflict player here is this safety. I'll denote him with a star. If he sits on the route, it's a give. If he comes up and run support, it is a pass, which would leave this slant open for Tariq Black. So moving forward here, you can see that safety is sitting on Tariq Black's route here. See, he's not coming up and run support. Otherwise, it would be a throw. He is sitting clearly in pass coverage. So let's look at a couple things that make this play kind of unique, I think. First of all, like I mentioned, this linebacker kind of takes himself out of the play on a scrape exchange, right? You have this defensive end crashing down as well as this linebacker, so that kind of gives you back the advantage here of 6-on-6. So the blocking for Michigan, one-on-one here, one-on-one here, one-on-one here, and one-on-one here. The goal would be to double this nose tackle before ideally Ruiz being able to fall off on this middle linebacker. Doesn't happen. Watching Wainu at the start of this play, it's the wrong move by him. He goes down the line here. So really what this doesn't leave, it doesn't leave anyone on this middle linebacker. So this middle linebacker is completely free right now because Wainu did not double the nose tackle. Luckily, Turner is able to put on a move here and completely get by the middle linebacker and pick up a nice gain. So correct read on this play. So real quick before this play gets started, notice this boundary player coming to the line of scrimmage. That'll be really relevant for this analysis. Watch Patterson's reaction to Turner and while he's looking at this boundary player. That'll be really relevant in a bit here. So pay attention to this.
3-yard line. Patterson, play fake, over the middle, and he has his
So the announcers called this that it wasn't actually an RPO. What's happening here is that this was the read player. This was the boundary player coming up. This is the conflict player here. It was originally going to be either a handoff here to Turner or a pass to Tariq Black on this slant. This guy coming up essentially removes the opportunity for any sort of read, right? So he's essentially canceling this between Turner. He's saying, Turner, this guy might come screaming off the edge. Abandon this read here. You are now in pass protection. That is your goal now. This is your only thing. Come across here. So Patterson will kind of sell it, but really this is giving him the read that he needs to throw this slant. So everything else is irrelevant. They're loading the box here. Now they have 7 with 6 blockers here for Michigan. So this read is now all the way a throw to Tariq Black. And that's why you don't really see the read between Patterson and Turner right now. He's pointing at that guy, telling Turner, hey, pick him up. And then you see Turner not even going with the mesh point. He's going for pass protection. So again, he's reading him right away. It's a pass, and it's a really nice catch from Tariq Black here. Barely on his outside arm there. Strong catch from Tariq Black. Correct read there.
Football. Here's a handoff.
All right, straight up wrong read on this one. So the option here is either inside zone to Charbonnet or a keeper for Patterson around the outside. Let's play the numbers game. You got 6 blockers here. For Michigan, for Army, you have 7 guys in the box. So obviously you're outnumbered. How do you take advantage of that? How do you even the numbers? You read one of them, this defensive end. That's your read guy. That's your conflict player. Based on his read, that's what decides the action here in the backfield. Coaches said that reads were on, so no excuse here, right? 52, this is your conflict player. He is shoulders inside. He is rushing all the way. Right at the mesh point, he is completely turned towards the line of scrimmage, running inside, and he still gives it. No idea why. That's blaringly incorrect. So what that does, that gives Army the advantage now, right? You're running into an uneven box. Now you have 7. All 7 guys are now in play. A couple things that complicate things. There's this stunt going on the play side of the defensive line, so this end is going to crash inside. In 52, he's not accounted for by any blocks. He's going to come inside as well. You'll see Ruiz kind of follows his guy on the stunt, so that leaves this defensive end completely unblocked on his stunt. So that results in 2 guys right at the point of attack for Charbonnet to run into. Meanwhile, if you would have kept it as Patterson, you have Ronnie Bell with a ton of inside leverage here. one-on-one block out here, you would have had Patterson with plenty of room here with really only one guy to beat. However, that's not the world we live in today. He gave the ball, so the stunting defensive end and the free defensive end off of the read make the play for 1 yard. So, blaringly incorrect. That's frustrating.
At the 42. And they'll run it with Charbonnet straight ahead.
Another mind-numbingly frustrating misread here. Okay, so Michigan's running Bell on kind of this orbit motion here where he's actually going out for the pitch. Inside zone is one option for Patterson. Otherwise, he can keep and run out with running Bell on this kind of triple option sort of look. Michigan's got 6 inside here to block. This blocker here, this kind of arc-looking block from Eubanks. In the box for Army, you have 7 guys here. Again, 6 on 7. How do you take advantage of that? You read one of them. This is your conflict player, outermost edge defender here. So he's reading this guy. If he comes down the line, it should be a keep with Ronnie Bell, this action to the outside. You have support from Eubanks and Collins. If he sits at home, then you're 6 on 6 and you run inside zone. That is, again, not what we're looking at. So that guy comes screaming down the line, right? 31. This is your conflict player right here. He comes screaming down the line. Again, shoulders are clearly heading towards the inside, selling out on the run. Patterson decides to give, and then you're on 7 on 6 inside the box. Just not going to work. First issue here is, first let me just point out kind of like if he kept it, right? You have Ronnie Bell and Patterson to the outside. And then you have Eubanks, who has one block here, wide receiver, I think this is Collins, one block out here, and then this is one guy. So you have them beat. This is your last read. If you're running the ball here, these guys get their blocks, you're gone. So that's super frustrating. Meanwhile, this guy's breaking through. You're just running into a loaded box. You know, you don't have the numbers. When you give on that, there's just too many guys. 47 makes the play. Really poor block from McCune, but really it doesn't matter. You're running with 6 blockers against 7 Army guys. So definitely an incorrect read. Super frustrating. Super frustrating. Yeah, it's a miracle he got 5 yards on this.
Continues to be out there as a redshirt freshman.
2nd down and 6. Charbonnet again.
Arc inside zone read here. The option here for Michigan is to either give to Charbonnet up the middle again, or you could have Patterson keep around the edge. You have Eubanks on this arc pull around the edge if Patterson does keep. As far as numbers in the box, so you got 6 blockers for Michigan with McCune here. For Army, you have 6 in the box. How do you take advantage of that? You read the end here. This is your conflict player. So if he comes down the line, you can keep and go around the edge. If he comes upfield or is playing the keep, you give up the middle. So this is a little bit of I would say, a debatable read here. I would probably accept either way. He is shuffling down the line. You can see that he's not really committing either way. Not the easiest read here for Patterson. I think, given the way this game was going, you got to test it once in a while, but not necessarily the wrong read. So a couple things that really complicate this play. I'll back up here. This blitzing linebacker for Army really makes it a difficult job for McCune coming across here. Everyone else does a pretty good job. You got Ruiz really blowing this guy back. A really nice seal block from Mayfield, and then Ruiz is going to do a good job picking up a backside linebacker to kind of set the hole here. McCune probably does the best he could with this guy just streaking upfield. It's not an easy ask. But that guy does kind of impact Charbonnet's path. But you can see as and when he is going to pick up this linebacker, Mayfield does a good job staying the right side of this. It's really just this shuffling end who does come from his shuffle. He takes a nice path to redirect, and then you have the secondary. So debatable on whether this is correct. I'm not going to ding either way. I think it could have gone either way there.
The whole running back picture at Michigan. Wolverines stay on the ground. Flag.
Really weird play design here on an RPO stretch. So you have Ronnie Bell running this slant. This is the pass option. And then you're just kind of giving this stretch play to Charbonnet here. So, Michigan has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here to block. These are your 6 in the box, so you are matched up. The guy you're reading is this kind of outside linebacker here. The issue with the RPO is if he's in run support even, he's still flowing this way, right? And that's still kind of in the path for any pass to Ronnie Bell. But obviously, if he sits, you're running the ball, but he's not likely to be a factor in this run play regardless. So just not really understanding the philosophy here. But, he is in the throwing path, so it's not necessarily the wrong read here, right? There's no conceivable pass here to Ronnie Bell. Issue with the actual blocking here, 2 areas that you could point out for Michigan. I'll first point out play side. This is the most glaring one. So both Hayes and Bradison are slanting play side. This defensive end simply splits them, and Hayes picks up a holding call on this defensive end. That's obviously not great. And then backside, Onwenu is slanting this way, as well as Mayfield. Onwenu's got to realize he's got this defensive tackle that he needs to chip. He does not, and that doesn't give Mayfield much of a chance, so this guy gets inside leverage. So you have both this defensive tackle getting inside here and running down the line, making a play on Charbonnet, as well as a very obvious hold on a failed split pickup between Bradison and Hayes on the left side here. So all around not good, and I really don't understand the concept behind this RPO stretch play.
Another running play, Charbonnet breaking tackle.
Pretty interesting play design, kind of an arc power player. So you'd have blocking on this side. You have Ronnie Bell coming in motion here. He's actually going to turn into the arc blocker here. The read is obviously between Patterson and Charbonnet. So Charbonnet is an option to go kind of off tackle on this side. Otherwise, Patterson would keep and kind of use these blocks on this end. So that's kind of the action in terms of blockers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for Michigan here. Let's count these 5 as the box players, the players that Michigan is responsible for blocking, and that leaves this end as the conflict player. This is who Patterson is reading, determining whether he gives to Charbonnet up the middle or whether he keeps out to the outside. So let's take a look at the conflict player. He's shuffling there, kind of at the line of scrimmage. Given where the action is supposed to go to Charbonnet, I would say this is the correct read here. Plenty of room for Charbonnet to go. Not super clear that it would be a clear path for Patterson around the outside. So key blocks to look at. You have Bradison leading the way down the line here. He's going to be responsible for this end. And then McCune is going to have this outside linebacker coming upfield. So these are the first 2 key blocks. Both do a pretty good job. Let's move forward here. There's 1 block. There's 2. So that sets the hole really for Charbonnet to come in here. You have a double right now between Ruiz and Mayfield here. So they just blew this defensive tackle off the ball. Really good job. Mayfield, if he could have gotten a little bit better on this middle linebacker, would have been a big play for Charbonnet here. Unfortunately, this guy does kind of get past as Mayfield is falling. You could argue that Nico Collins at the top of your screen here should be doing a better job on his block as well. So, if this linebacker is properly blocked, you could see a bounce opportunity to the outside if this block holds up. So, overall, correct read, creative play, good yards after contact by Charbonnet.
38 balls with 0 drops a year ago. Charbonnet around the corner this time. No action to make that bend. Summerin.
Fumble by Van Summerin. This is the same kind of RPO stretch play where you have Van Summerin coming across this side. The RPO is with St. Ristel on this slant pass here, and the read is really around this linebacker. Strange, again, because he isn't really a threat to make a play on the run. So that leaves, this is the 6 blockers, or the 6 defenders that Michigan's 6 blockers here have to account for. And that also leaves this safety overhang kind of unaccounted for. So again, the RPO just doesn't really make sense because whatever this linebacker's action is doesn't really impact the play. So it's a strange kind of motion here. You see that, like, yeah, he's in the path of St. Ristel here at any given point. So, and it doesn't even really look that Patterson is reading off of him. Again, it looks like his eyes are almost trying to keep this middle linebacker at home. So not really sure like what this RPO is trying to accomplish here. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Blocks that are really important here that kind of blow up this play. Good initial pop from Mayfield and McCune here on this defensive end. Mayfield does a good job getting a pop on him. You'd like to see McCune a bit more inside. He'll actually lose leverage here. And then Mayfield could have the outside leverage here. So it's really on McCune to get to the inside here. He had plenty of help. He doesn't do that. That would have created this sort of hole here. But again, the safety completely unaccounted for. It would be 6 against 7 if you account for that safety. But regardless, you have McCune, obviously losing this block. So that forces Ben Van Sumeren into the teeth of the defense here. And then he fumbles. So RPO stretch, really weird concept. Not the greatest blocking by McCune. And a safety's unaccounted for. Obviously, hold on to the football. It's rough.
Charbonnet trying to get outside.
Inside zone read here for Michigan. Army's almost surely lined up wrong. So the read is either inside here to Charbonnet or the fake and around the outside here for Patterson. And then you'd have these 2 wide receivers on blocks. That leaves the read guy here, the outermost end. This is your conflict player. That leaves only 5 in the box here for Army. And Michigan has 6 blockers here to account for them. So clearly winning numbers for Michigan, and they do win here. Looking at the conflict player, he is shuffling down. So you could say that this could constitute a keep since this action of 55 is kind of in. And you're probably right that you would like your chances for Patterson this way. Ends up not being a bad read. I'll say this is sort of an irrelevant read because the numbers are still in Michigan's favor on the give here. Looking at the give, a couple key blocks for Michigan. Mayfield with a really good kick out block here on the edge. Good job by Onwenu getting to this linebacker who's, for whatever reason, shuffling this way. My computer's being really slow for whatever reason. And then a missed block out on the edge by Nico Collins. If he picks this up, I think it's a much bigger gain than what we actually saw. But, big blocks right here. I think Charbonnet should have cut up field here. You have the safety 7 crashing down and tries to get to the sideline. But again, Collins didn't pick anyone up. Might be a different play if he picks up this cornerback who ends up making the tackle. But still, good play, first down.
Backfield for the Wolverines. Patterson. And Patterson just lets it go.
Really, really, really rough play here for Patterson. So inside zone read again. You either have this or the outside here for Shea Patterson. He decides to keep here for Army. So these are the 5 guys in the box for Michigan's 6 blockers right here with the tight end. Army is sending 2 guys here, the corner blitz, as well as this end. This end is the read guy, but remember it's more of a read area rather than just one conflict player. So while he's reading this end primarily, he should see this corner blitz as well. That's part of his read responsibility. He decides for whatever reason to keep, even though he sees defensive end coming wildly upfield towards him. if anything, light these yards on fire. It's a doomed read either way. And honestly, if this defensive end is already reacting, but at worst it's a gain of 0 for Charbonnet here, and he might even eke out, a little bit of yards up the middle here. You got a decent wall on the right end here and on the left end. But either way, rough keep by Patterson. He's doomed. He decides to throw it. Doesn't really matter. He's down there anyways. Burn the timeout. And miss a field goal. So really rough end to the half. Just bad decision to keep. He definitely should have given that one away, even if it results in a 0-yard gain. That's better than the actual result here.